Hey listeners, welcome to Grit and Growth, where we explore what it really takes to achieve excellence in sport, leadership, and everyday life.
We're talking mindset, character, and faith in action. The daily pursuit of becoming your best in every arena.
I'm Justin Simpkins, founder and director of Prairie Hockey Academy, storyteller, passionate about growth, and reader of books on leadership and personal development.
And I'm Shane Sowden, head coach of Briarcrest men's basketball, a mentor to coaches and youth who believes leadership starts with the heart and grows through purpose.
Hey, we've been friends for over 15 years, and this podcast builds on conversations that we've shared with each other and with mentors, coaches, and leaders who have helped shape us along the way.
So get ready to rise to a higher level of excellence.
You're listening to Grit and Growth. Let's dive in. Today, we're joined by two of the most accomplished basketball players Canada has ever produced, Michelle and Katherine Plouffe. These twin sisters from Edmonton have represented Canada on the Olympic stage, competed professionally around the world, and helped build Canada's women's 3x3 basketball program into one of the best in the world. Along the way, they've won international medals, played in multiple Olympic Games, and helped take a format of basketball that barely existed in Canada and turn it into a national program that reached the Paris Olympics.
Yeah, Justin, this one was fun. We laughed. The dynamic between the two of them was a lot of fun, and to see the different perspectives on their basketball journeys, all the way from growing up in a very competitive family to learning how to let go of the outcome and playing with joy and purpose and playing from a stance of from approval, being already approved instead of playing for approval. And so many great things for parents, coaches, players, all those things. So great. Had a lot of fun with these two ladies and enjoyed the listen.
It was an awesome conversation. Parents are going to catch the laughter in amongst the sibling rivalry piece going on. Both of them just in how they, kind of encouraged each other on the journey, but each having their own individual journey I thought was unique. The joy in sport was what caught me the most. And when they found that and how much that opened them up to the future possibilities of what they could do. I think everyone's going to take a lot from this episode. It was one of my favorite of recent memories. Let's welcome Michelle and Katherine Plouffe to the Grit and Growth Show. Michelle, Katherine, welcome to the Grit and Growth podcast. We're thrilled to have you join us here today.
Thanks so much for having us on, guys.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
As twin sisters, I think let's just jump into this. I mean, I'm curious, who was more competitive growing up?
We're starting off hot. Okay.
Yeah, well,
I'll take.
I think Michelle, for sure. Would you say? I would say so.
I would say so. Yeah, I would say so.
I was more the cautious, you go first type when we first started. So
I feel like you were inner competitive without saying, and we would always be competing.
Actually, that's
undercurrents.
Gotcha.
So it runs deep.
And did that translate to even beyond sport, like board games, video, just naturally in everything?
Life.
Yeah.
All right. So Katherine, you're more the peacemaker.
Well, yeah, with maturity, I feel like that came.
With maturity. Okay.
Yes.
In the beginnings, for sure competitive. And just maybe held on to it on the insides a little bit. But everything was competitive. We're the youngest of five. So I think all of us were quite competitive in our own rights, for sure.
Yeah. And we were decent at a lot of things related to even physical things, challenges. So when you have some natural ability, it just gets more competitive really fast.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So with maturity, though, we've matured. In childhood, it translated to everything. So
then as you've matured, is Michelle still the more competitive one now?
No, I think we're both pretty competitive, just maybe more refined in how that presents itself.
There was a time where we didn't play one-on-one for the majority of our life because we would take it too far. So it wasn't until 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Less probably.
Our professional
2019, let's say. So 6 years ago, where we were I think playing one-on-one would help us both
And you know
get
what?
better
It
at
was still
basketball.
fiery, so
Is
uh,
there video evidence of this first one-on-one matchup?
thankfully, no.
Okay. Anyways,
So we'd
Yeah,
had an audience for our first high school
yeah,
matchup, though I will say that.
yeah.
It was just
okay.
our team, but
Funny.
Still that,
Okay.
yeah, that would have been good.
That inter-squad game in high school, is that what it was when it was your team against each other?
No.
it was a go ahead.
Okay,
Well, I feel like there's a story here that now
there
we've
is a
we've
There's a
opened
story.
story.
up. Yeah.
There's a story.
Yeah.
So, okay, so in 11th grade, we were playing for a national prep kind of school out in Hamilton, Ontario, and so we were billeting with a family. And there was one big bedroom that we had to compete for. So we played one-on-one for the big room, and it got a little bit ugly. So Michelle won. Michelle won the room. She got the big room.
And that was the last time we played for the next 15 years.
All right.
Oh, so funny.
I like it. Well, I think the story here for parents is not every parent that listens to this will have twins, but a lot of them will have siblings,
Goodness gracious.
and with maturity, we see that
Mhm.
competitiveness can level itself out, and we can all laugh about it. But isn't it just true that siblings are we're going to compete, and I think that when you're twins and you're the same age, I'm sure there's a little bit more competition, and then when you're the youngest of five. I know that my youngest is constantly, he's doing what he can to let his eldest sister know that he's right there with her too. So it happens in life.
Definitely.
It
Yeah.
does.
So, you're the youngest of five siblings. Was basketball the sport growing up? Was it a multi-sport family? Were you two the basketball people? Were your siblings something else? Like, how'd that all work?
Yeah, definitely just a sporty household. Our parents put us in, whatever they could. So whether it was like cross country or soccer, our first sport was soccer. When we were like 3 or 4, 5 years old, volleyball. Like we just liked to do things. But all our siblings were very athletic, very active. Um, our older sister ended up playing Division 1 basketball as well, so she kind of paved the trail for us in that sense. We had someone to just follow in terms of, oh, that's possible. Let's
Mhm.
try that.
Yeah.
But definitely always
Mhm.
active. They would send us outside all the time because, I mean, we're 6'3", and like growing up, we're always big, and you got five of those people in your house with a lot of energy. You just go outside.
That's right.
Lock the doors. Yeah.
Close and lock the doors. That's right.
I wish we could still do that today. That sounds.
I know.
Hey,
Yeah.
you guys go outside. We'll see you when it gets dark outside. Come home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doors locked. There's 5 of you as siblings. You had 5 kids in the family. All seemed athletic, tall. Did you need to be pushed by your parents? What role did your parents maybe play in that? Or was it just, the dynamic in your house was, competitive and ambitious? Like, how did that look?
Yeah. Well, I can't remember our parents pushing us to pursue anything that we didn't want to do. Honestly, they definitely held the line of, well, you committed to this, so you're doing it.
Mhm.
But I don't remember many times, correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, where they had to motivate us um, to practice, to train, to go to our games. It wasn't a fight. If it was, very few times where we didn't want to go, and we were competitive by nature and maybe in the environment of our family to do things. But we also saw, as the youngest, our older siblings play sports. We wanted to be around that environment. We kind of saw them get to play sports. Like we were hanging around the gyms in the corner, playing pass or running around the hallways until we were old enough to actually be able to be on a team. So we were eager to, and throughout our lives and like our young years, we wanted to be challenged, and I think that was one thing that really pulled us to continue, whether that's like a desire in our own heart and lives, or we saw that as an example in other people, um, that kind of fed that for us. They held the bar high, and we were like, okay, like let's go try, like let's go try to be the best we can. along with coaches and other people who were very instrumental in our lives too. That was we were eager to. No one had to really push us to like want to get in the gym more, want to train more, want to be our best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think there's probably at the beginning there, like some like achievement oriented or like external validation that helped along the way, which later was like, oh, I have some things to wrestle through. But at the beginning, you're like, oh, I can win, or I can make a team, or I can, you know, be recognized for being excellent in something. And so I think that fed into like the desire to achieve and perform and be good at something. And like I said at the beginning, we had some natural ability athletically. And so, but we also had one coach for sure who was instrumental, who was our first really basketball coach, and he coached all of our siblings actually, Buddy Mauricio. But he was foundational in setting a standard of excellence, is what I'll call it now, looking back, of just character and like the follow through and the responsibility. And he really preached on, you know, if you're on a team, you have more responsibility. You are an example to other people when you put on the uniform or on game day. Like I remember on game days, we were in elementary school playing on our junior high basketball team, but it was on game days, you wore a shirt and tie. And so we were in grade 4 and 5 wearing a shirt and tie to school on our game day. And I remember being super like uncomfortable. But then it's just like something you do, because when the environment and the culture of the team is like, you have a responsibility, this is what we do, and everyone's bought in because they see the level of excellence, and like it brings something out of you that's like a desire to, be part of the team, a desire to show up for your teammates, and all this stuff I kind of fed into something we wanted to be a part of. At the time, probably didn't know it, but looking back, I'm very grateful for those super uncomfortable moments of growth, really.
I think that's awesome, Michelle. Thank you for sharing that. One of my questions you mentioned with Coach, I think his name is Buddy Mauricio. A big piece that you talked about. The first thing was that just even the character formation that Buddy, at a junior high level. And I guess my question is, what I'm really curious about is, was there moments where you can remember, it's a long time ago maybe, but it's like, can you remember there would be moments where maybe you were below the line that Coach Mauricio was setting for everybody, and how he helped develop that character in you today?
That's a good question.
Or maybe it was just Katherine that was below the line and you weren't ever. I don't know. That's
Well, honestly, we were in grade 4 playing with the junior high team. So like we weren't, and it wasn't because we were the best at the time. I mean, someone came up to us before and was like, you were the best. And I'm like, I really don't remember feeling like we were that on the team, but I know he saw something in us that was, we were eager, we were willing to work hard, and we had great attitudes. And so he was like, well, that's a seed I want to water. So I think we were below the line in talent and, physicality for sure at that point. But we always got around teams and groups who were older and farther ahead. And I think that's also what fed into our just ability to be uncomfortable, to be challenged, because we were always behind, like, the line of, we were the small fish in a bigger pond. And I think that really helped us. And so I don't remember what he did. I wish I did, so I could thank him more specifically. But I think it was just his like belief that like, this is the bar. You're here. That's the bar for everyone. I'm not going to lower it for you, but also understanding that it might take you longer to get there, but not with character. Everyone can make choice.
It's great. I think I imagine throughout this conversation, we'll get deeper into that. Cause you even just mentioned this idea of external validation, as opposed to maybe intrinsic, motivation, but there's a lot there. And we'll probably talk about identity maybe later on in our conversation, and where we find that and how we get lost and the things you had to work through to figure it out.
Well, and it's a good lesson too. Like our job as coaches, one of our responsibilities is to see in others what they may not see in themselves just yet, and show that belief and help them get from A to B and all that sort of stuff. But it's interesting. You already mentioned playing prep in 11th grade in Hamilton, and so you've talked a little bit about the junior high team, the process growing up, and and the home life and everything. When did you start to realize, hey, basketball is probably the sport? We're going to have some pretty cool opportunities coming up here. When did that start taking shape? Hey, this could be a pretty unique journey that we might be starting on here.
Yeah, well, we played both volleyball and basketball through high school. So technically they were both still options in high school to pursue it further. But I remember just like not fully even investing a lot of time seeing if volleyball could be a potential sport after high school. There was a moment where I was thinking, oh, it could be fun. But I just based on so many more opportunities in basketball to develop and have doors opened through the provincial team and the junior national team. And then this opportunity to go play in Hamilton. That's definitely where God was opening doors, I'd say. So it was getting around that association and environment of a next level type of, players. Like once again, Michelle said, we're the small fish and always, pursuing being better around the people who are better than us. And so getting around that in basketball was more in like 11th grade, 12th grade. Okay, where are we going to go play at in college for that next level? And I people have asked like, oh, did you always dream of going to wherever playing professionally? And honestly, for myself, no, that wasn't the case. It was one step in front of the other. Work your butt off in one thing. Let's see what happens next. Work your butt off in this opportunity. What might open up after? And it was a process of getting around people step by step that really led that path. But I'd say in high school, the mindset was like, okay, let's actually search and make this happen.
Yeah. Although in high school, when we were playing volleyball and there was like actual volleyball players and we were like the basketball players playing volleyball. We were like, we always did extra in basketball. All the other sports were like those seasonal.
Yeah.
And basketball, it was like one more team. Because I really had, like, I liked basketball the most. So it was, I wanted to do it more. So it was always kind of the sport for me anyways.
And you can always tell who are the volleyball players trying to play basketball and who are the basketball players trying to play ball. It's hard to explain, but you could see it.
Something in the movements.
Yeah. I recruited a volleyball guy a couple of years ago because he liked basketball better than volleyball, but he was totally a volleyball guy. And by year 4, we got him figured out, but it took a little while. Anyways, but man, he was bouncy. Yeah.
It's fun.
I appreciate that story, Shane, because I think, somewhat, Catherine, with what you're saying of like, you just, each year you kind of just took the steps you needed. So you put yourself in an environment, maybe you refined some of your habits that you needed to do. You just went to work every day and you didn't know what, 3 to 5 years were going to look like. You didn't even have this goal of professional, but being in the environment that you knew would be conducive to growth and success, and then just these habits. And I think it's the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. He talks about, I think he calls that the valley of disappointment, actually, because it's like this, it's like this space where like the systems that we adopt don't always show immediate and personal reward, but a few years down the road, we'll look back and be grateful for like those mundane emotions and like just habits that we put in place and went at. And and so I think, part of what you're saying there, Catherine, is like putting yourself at the prep school was key, is the first step. Putting yourself around others that had aspirations for more that you could train with and work with, and then see where it went. But I think the next big step for me in both of your story maybe is this: now college comes, and you're looking at college opportunities, your twin sisters, you're going to go play together, obviously. What happens? Because that didn't happen. So where did was this
And
the
did you have the
competitive
chance
piece?
to go together?
Was this that one-on-one, yeah, what?
We were specifically not a package deal, but
Okay.
there were schools who asked, "Are you a package deal?" And we were like, "Nope." Like, we never actually talked about it, I don't think. Did we talk about it?
No.
I don't think so, but we were on the same page about needing our own experience in university. And
Awesome.
even in the sense of all that, like, it was so different than today, where we didn't have a pressure of like where I find high school kids do today, of like needing to get a scholarship and like all these things. And I think it's because, we're now comparing ourselves to the whole world, and we see everyone's journey, and everyone's posting their recruiting trip, and everyone's doing all these things. And we just didn't have that because we were not able to look at other people. And I'm grateful that we didn't grow up in social media times, but it was just a different time in that you could just do what you were doing and not be so pressured on the future. Where I think now, we've talked to many high school kids who are doing something specifically for a certain outcome. And I'm like, well, what if that doesn't come to fruition? And who's to say that that means that you've made it or not? Like, it's so, up in the air. But to your question, we were looking forward to having different experiences. and it just worked. Like, God knew we needed to be farther away from each other. And it was really good for our relationship, actually, because we got to be our own people, as opposed to the twins, the Plouffe twins, the Twin Towers, whatever was our identity when we were playing on the same team all the time. Not that we didn't like playing together, even. We loved playing together. We played really well together. But I think we just knew that personally, we wanted our own experience, and it worked out beautifully.
Check out our new book, Significance Over Success, packed with real stories, reflections, and lessons on what it truly means to grow with purpose.
Hey, it's Justin here. And if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that I'm a coach, a husband, and a father to 3 busy kids. A couple years ago, one of our daughters was really struggling with her sleep and her breathing and crowding in her mouth. At that point in time, we started looking into things that could help her. And I'm proud to say that we came across a company called SaskMile. The team at SaskMile was incredible with our daughter in helping us figure out a solution for her health. The team at SaskMile made a real difference in her life, in her breathing, in the crowding in her mouth, and in her airways overall. My daughter's back to sleeping better, not grinding her teeth at night, and being able to just breathe, which goes a long way in her physical development. If you have a child that you're concerned about, whether they're snoring, mouth breathing, grinding their teeth at night, struggling with feeding, or just overall mouth development, take my advice. Reach out to saskmile.com. Their team there will offer consultations and incredible help for you. That's saskmile.com, saskmyo.com. So, Michelle, you went to Utah.
I went to Utah, yep.
And Katherine, you went to Marquette when it was all said and done. Awesome.
Yep.
And in that, in conference, interconference games, anything, did you play each other ever?
We did play each other one time in 4 years, and it was our
senior
year. Our schools, I think, helped us out, and they put us in
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
They put us in the same non-conference tournament in Vegas. Yeah. And then our parents got to come watch. We had a couple coaches from Edmonton come watch.
Yeah.
And so our collegiate career was 1-0 for myself.
Uh-oh. There you go. Yeah, the less
I
competitive.
will have to say, they just gave the ball to Katherine, and whichever post player I was not guarding, they gave the ball, and that person scored, unfortunately.
Part of the game plan was get Michelle in foul trouble also. So.
Which I did.
I think we saw that the replay showed it should have been a charge, not a block. But anyway. I digress. Yeah, we're good.
Hey, that's just some good strategy by the coaching staff. There you go.
Yeah.
I know. Honestly, looking back, I was like, that was perfect.
Also contributed to our professional career. Our coaches did say, "She fouls a lot, so get her foul trouble."
Yeah.
So,
We had more chances there, but yeah.
yeah.
So really, I mean, I think for me as a parent, I'm just thinking, you grow up together, you've played a lot together. Now you both, you're becoming, you're young women, you're growing, you're in college, you're going, hey, we want this individual experience for ourselves. And you go and you experience that. And like you said, it was great. And for you, and I guess, suddenly being separated after growing up and competing together, you know, what was that initially like? Like what was the initial experience, or maybe even the maturity and growth through the
Mhm.
experience?
Yeah, there was a lot
Well,
of growth for sure,
yeah.
and maturity. We didn't actually speak to each other. We had to learn how to do that. We didn't speak to each other for almost 3 weeks
Okay.
to
Yeah.
because we were used to not having to do that on purpose at a
Hmm.
distance. So, we went to school at the end of August, and our birthday's September 15th, and so we didn't, like, talk to each other on the phone until our birthday, and I was like, "I should probably call Michelle, it's her birthday too." So, we had to figure that out on, like, keeping our
Yeah.
building our relationship because
Mhm.
when you're this is can be any relationship when there's distance, you have to make an effort in a different way. So, there was that
Mhm.
process of like, "Okay, how do we do this?" And it obviously was more natural after, but, um,
Mhm.
yeah, it was definitely different, and we had to mature in supporting each other, encouraging each other, um, in a different way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what that looked like, but I'm sure we were there for each other. I know,
Well,
I
Yeah.
think we talked a lot.
we ended up talking quite
Yeah.
often. I went to visit Michelle a few times at Utah. She came.
Yeah.
It's warmer there.
Yeah, that's what she said. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
She's
and
like,
you
"Why would I come to Milwaukee?" Oh, said,
yeah.
"Because I'm here," but okay.
And you mentioned, something or like you go play prep, you go play Div 1 down the States, but something you said when you're at that prep school, you played volleyball, you played basketball, but you wanted to do extra. You were motivated to do extra intrinsically for basketball.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
volleyball was more like, hey, this is fun. We enjoy this.
Yeah.
But there was no like, hey, I got to go work on my approach or my swing, whatever it is. Right.
Yep.
Um, I had the same situation with my youngest son a few years ago. He's baseball, basketball. I didn't have to ever encourage at all for basketball. He's
Mhm.
always wanted to be in the gym. Baseball, he enjoyed it, but it was more like your experience with volleyball. Um, and you speak to the difference in you choosing schools in a non-social media age and all these pressures with these expectations of kids right now. Um,
Mhm.
I'm curious, just in your experience, you went through that just before the social media explosion hit. So that whole thing about being motivated for the sport, maybe speak to parents, any student athletes listening to this that might be going through a similar situation and trying to make a decision what they want to do after they're done playing most of the time high school.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I think we need to reevaluate, like, why are we doing it? Why do we want the outcome that we want? Is it
Mhm.
because it looks cool, or is it because I think that this would be the best for my child's, development and experience? Because I think we just get so wrapped up into, what other people think, especially in the social media era, even the parents, because the parents are comparing to other parents' kids and what they're doing and what's best for their kid may not be the best for yours. Um, and there's just a lot of comparison. And so I think if we get rooted in, um, okay, why? And is it so that I can pursue excellence? Okay, well, what does excellence look like? Are there multiple different options for playing? Does it need to be Division One, or can it be local? Does it need to be, um, you know, am I playing sport for being on excellence, or am I just playing sport because it's fun and I like the social activity? Well, then that will take us down a different path. And I think that um, we're not all the time checked in to why we're doing things in the first place. I think is very easy to check out and be outward focused rather than, okay, what are my values? What do I actually care about? And what will help me get the life part that I want, not just the attention that I want. And I think we're like a little bit disconnected with that these days because it's easy to, honestly. And so I think that would be like the number one thing that I would ask more of a question to people is why do you want to do that?
Yeah.
And what happens if it doesn't come to fruition? Like what happens if you try and you fail? Is it still going to be worth it to you to go after that?
Well, I think that's when you probably quickly realize if it was an outward or an inward focus.
Totally.
Yeah.
And part of my question, Michelle, on that whole thing is, are you suggesting the parents walk through this process or the student athlete?
I think both need to, because I think there's a lot of intertwined now, more so than when we were growing up. Our parents were not even involved. Like it was, and every family's different, obviously, but they weren't like, you need to do this or we expect this out of you. But I think there's many factors, like parents putting their kids in so many activities that sometimes it's like, well, one of these better pay off because we're spending $2,000 for you to play community league basketball. You know, like it's just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So I think there's a pressure also that maybe we don't talk about in the investment side. And it's like, okay, what are we investing in? Is it for my kids' development or is it for them to have a future scholarship? And so I think it's both. I think honestly, both need to realize where their heart's at.
Yeah. And just to build on that, I had a couple conversations where that was recently, where it was like, I was talking to a parent and his son was training and he's like, I was just encouraging him because like, wow, your son's doing really good competing with older guys. And he's like, do you think so? Because I think he should be better. And I was like, that's an interesting statement based on what? And then he said, because he's invested all this money into it, expecting a higher return. I don't know what he's comparing to, but that's a little bit tricky because not all, I think there's this, to your point, Michelle, just to build on it, there's like, not all kids are going to play sports for a high level, let alone like after teenage years. And I get the sense that it's like, if you're playing sports, there is this underlying pressure, whether it's said or not, mostly unsaid by parents of like, it needs to end up with something useful to a future career. And that's kind of sad because the play is lost in sports, where it, you know, it's changed the scope of playing in sports. It's a different level, but play is the heart of why we are created to move and act and work together. It's for play. And I think when that is lost, you know, our development it changes.
Yeah. And I guess I'm curious, like, what do you think, what would you say, having competed at all kinds of levels, what would you say the purpose of minor sports are?
That's a great question. I think is to learn the skills of working together as a team, learn responsibility, develop some kind of skill because, you know, we're made to grow and learn things. And that's a fun thing. To learn things and be challenged to improve is a fun thing. You don't have you can play a sport for 1 year and completely change sports the next year. But that process of learning is very important. And to commit to something for a season, whatever it is also very important. So that's
fun. I would say fun is the main thing.
Yeah, fun. Yeah.
Fun. We forget that word sometimes.
Yeah.
Fun.
I even think of watching my daughters, compete in sports now. It's like some of it's even just about like self-confidence, right? And
totally.
And like their growth in themselves and that they can do stuff and that they can hit a ball and they can catch a ball and they can throw a ball and they can shoot a basket and they can skate on the ice. And it's like these pieces matter. But I sometimes feel like we get lost in thinking that the purpose of youth sports is to win.
Yeah.
Like it's like it's to win a game. Yeah. So I appreciate what you're saying, Michelle, and Katherine, this inside out process of really just maybe doing a bit of a it won't be hard, but let's just do a bit of an inventory on our values, maybe our family values, maybe our individual personal values and desires for our future, what we want. And then, are we externally focused or are we internally focused? I know, Michelle, you brought up, a conversation early on in this conversation, you brought up a comment about that initial entry into sport for you, and that there end up being some extrinsic motivations or some external factors that were like, wow, we can win and we actually get, we get praised when we do it. And this kind of feels good. And that can cause some hardships later on in life. I want to dive into that in part 2 of our conversation next week. And so I think this is a good spot for us to make a kind of a pause here on part 1 and go from there. That's it for part 1 of our conversation.
We've got more coming your way in part 2.
And if you haven't already, hit follow so you don't miss it when it drops.
And if you're enjoying Grit and Growth, tell a friend. It really helps us keep these conversations going.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you in part 2.